Hello,
Hi, everyone.
welcome to the CATS live stream where we discuss relevant resources and tips for Get Focused, Stay Focused programs using the Career Choices Series curriculum. I am Chris Powell and this is Brooke Owen. How are things in your part of the world, Brooke?
We are almost going to hit 80 degrees today, so things are amazing over here.
Yes, same over here where I am, but it is going to get cold in the weekend and then warm again, so things are good. So, a lot going on in the world right now. So thank you all so much for joining us today. We wanted to start with the 3 reasons why you should stay for the whole um, live stream today. And as Brooke put up very quickly, make sure you are introducing yourself in the chat. Say your name, say where you're from, and definitely interact with us. We love that part of it. So for the three reasons we think you should stay today. The first one is you're going to see which mentor teacher is presenting at the free Get Focused, Stay Focused virtual conference. And then number 2, we're also going to be talking about the 4 L's from someone who is our resource of the week. So we'll get into that. And then the third reason is you're going to learn some tips for teaching the economics of bad habits. That's the activity that we're going to cover today from the curriculum. And if you don't mind, Brooke, I'm going to add a fourth one,
Yes, let's
and
do it.
that is love. We're going to talk a lot about love today. Um, the world is a completely different place than it was even a week ago. And Brooke and I talked before the live stream today. There are so many problems in the world that can be solved just simply by loving each other more. And so we want to tie that into the whole live stream today. So lots of love in this live stream today. Excuse me. So let's get started with the News Minute first. We wanted to highlight the mentor teacher who will be presenting at our free Get Focused, Stay Focused virtual conference. And I
So,
saw, go ahead, Brooke. I know what you're going to say.
yep, that's what you're. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks for that comment, Brianne. Um, yes, it's very exciting. Her name is Carol Keyser, and she is one of our mentor teachers in California. And as soon as you pulled her picture up, I completely spaced it on the name of her high school. Do you have that, Brooke?
Wheatland.
Wheatland High School. That's right. Man, I knew it was the Pirates, and I couldn't think of Wheatland for some reason.
Go Pirates.
So, yes. So Carol's session is going to be so great. She is going to be talking about how she built a Get Focused, Stay Focused program from the bottom up and also from the top down. And it's got proven results. She's going to be talking about the roadmap she used, um, finding time in the master schedule, effective instructor recruitment, team building techniques, writing grants, and so much more. So this is a session that will be very valuable for you to attend, especially if you're just getting started with this curriculum and you want to see a roadmap for success.
Yeah, do not miss this. And if you do miss it, please sign up for it right now so that you can go back and listen to the recording later because she's amazing.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because this virtual conference, the Get Focused, Stay Focused virtual conference, you do not have to be there live on March 10th. You can register for it and you will have access to all of the recorded sessions afterwards. So we will have that link for you at the very end in the comments. So keep an eye out for that. Carol is such a great presenter, so fun to listen to. Next is the resource of the week. And this week we are highlighting Dr. Michael Baston. He is the president of Rockland Community College in New York, and he's also an author. And there's a podcast that he joined on talking about student success and equity. And this was on the Continuous Learning Institute podcast. And we wanted to highlight his interview because it talks a lot about student success and equity. He points out the difference between equity and equality. The example that he gives, I love. Imagine you're at a college, you have a big group of incoming freshmen, and everyone gets a free t-shirt. They look pretty cool, right? Everyone gets a free shirt. That's equality. But what if every single shirt you have is size large? And you have all different kinds of people coming in. You've got smalls, you've got mediums, you've got some extra larges. So everyone's equal by getting a free shirt, but it's not equitable because it's not the right fit for them. And so he talks about the difference between equity and equality and how you can use that in your teaching. A lot of this is leadership strategies from a college point of view, but a lot of it ties into, I think perfectly, ties into teaching in the classroom as well. And so he pointed out, he has some L's, he calls them the 4 L's. And it's used with coaching staff members at the college, but I think teachers can definitely use these 4 L's in the classroom as well. So the first one is levity. You always want to be able to lift people's spirits. I think that's a great quality for teachers to have, especially in this course where you're talking about some heavy things, kids planning for their future. You want to have some fun with it. The next one is leverage. Teachers are bombarded every day with competing priorities. And so they need to leverage those priorities with possible opportunities. Figure out the ones that are going to be best to focus on and make sure you can leverage those and not get bogged down. The third one is learning. We've talked about this before in our live streams about becoming a lifelong learner. And you can't really be a good instructor if you're not constantly learning yourself. And then the fourth one, I said we were going to talk about it, is love. If you don't love your job, if you don't love your students, if you don't love your coworkers, then it's just making life more difficult for you. So that really goes well with this curriculum. If you have that relationship of trust with your students and you have learned to love them and they love you back, miracles will happen in your classroom. What do you think about all that, Brooke?
Yeah, it makes such a huge difference. And I you summarize everything so well, but it does make a huge difference in the classroom if the students can tell that they're in a place with somebody who cares about them. And I think we put too much of a premium on the word love. I think we need to make it a lot more not take the weight off of it because it is something that's really, really important, but use it more and mean it. And I loved Spencer's comment. He has so many great tips in this webinar. It is definitely, like Chris said and Spencer said, it's geared towards administrators, but it is a really great listen. And he has such great analogies and he explains things so well. So,
yeah, it's about an hour-long podcast, but one of my secrets of success is to pull up the printed transcript and then up the speed on the podcast, and then it won't take a full hour of your day. So a little tip for you there.
Or listen to it while you're on the treadmill.
True. Yep. And then keep it slow to force you to exercise longer.
Yes. So the last thing in our news minute that we wanted to reinforce or that we wanted to mention is we got an Instagram and Chris and I are going to be on it. So we're going to include that link in our links at the end of the show. So if you're not following us on Instagram, go do that. If you're not following us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, you should be because we've been there for a long time. But we now have an Instagram as well.
Yeah, look for that My 10-Year Plan logo. We're going to try some new things there. Thanks for that link. Yeah, we're going to try some new things there, maybe do some webinars there on Instagram Live instead of through Zoom. So we'll be experimenting with some things over there. So definitely give us a follow, and we'll make sure to keep you entertained over there on Instagram.
Yes. So now we are going to jump into the main content of today and talk about our topic. And the thing we wanted to talk about today is the activity called the economics of bad habits. And when we mentioned this earlier, Brienne, I believe this is what your comment was referring to. This is everybody's response when we say that. Or oh, I'm an expert in that, and because we all, I think all of us recognize that we all have bad habits, right?
Definitely.
And so if you read through the textbook, it's a really great activity that helps students see what, for example, we do cigarettes or a coffee habit in the textbook, how much that will cost over the course of a year, and if they save that money instead of spending it, what could they possibly get? So we are going to look at our online class agendas, which if you are not familiar with those and you don't know how to access them, let us know, because these are amazing. So this is the class agenda for chapter 9, session 3, which covers this activity. And there's two things I wanted to point out on this class agenda. The first one is Jason Soderlund's mini video lecture on this topic. And I rewatched it again right before the live stream, and he's sitting there holding a Dutch Brothers cup. We do not have Dutch Brothers where I live. I don't know how far east they come, but they do not come here. Maybe soon, but no, like, it's a good thing they're not here, because then I would have another bad habit that I would need to get control of. When I go out and I visit Oregon, or if I go out and visit Utah, I have to actually budget part of my spending for my trip specifically for Dutch Brothers, because I get it at least once or twice a day while I'm there. So we need to keep it on vacation, because otherwise that can have all sorts of bad ramifications for me. But he goes through and he talks about things like streaming services, subscription boxes, and all of these things that, oh, it's $5 a month. Oh, it's, $3 a month. Oh, it's a couple of dollars a day, whatever it is, but how fast that adds up. And then he goes into talking about what are the other types of sacrifices that you're making to be able to support that habit. So all of us have habits that could be classified as bad, right? So it's really, this activity is really about helping students analyze where they're spending their time and their energy and their money, and if that's something that's going to benefit them in the future, or if it's going to take away from their future. And I'm not going to spoil what Jason's example, because it's really, you just need to go watch this video because it's very moving. But he talks about how certain habits can have effects not only on how much money you're spending on them every day or every month or every year, but also on our physical health, our mental health, and most importantly, and this is something that we're going to keep coming back to today, on our relationships. Mm-hmm. What is that habit taking away from your relationships? Whether that's my new addiction currently is game apps, because I've been really stressed lately, and I've found that it kind of pretends to alleviate my stress. I know it doesn't, but going in and playing games, you can spend so much time on those gaming apps. What is that taking away from the people that you're around? And what could you be doing with that time and that money? And then again, not all habits are bad habits, and not all habits that can be classified as bad are bad, but you have to be aware of what you're doing.
Exactly. I'm going to jump in really quick and confess one of mine. So we got a Peloton bike during the pandemic, like a lot of people in the country, and it's like $40 a month. It's kind of pricey, but my wife and I, even our kids, we were on it like every day. It was fun. It was a good way to exercise. The live instructors it's just a fun exercise program. But then, as most exercise programs go, the bike got moved to the garage. It kind of got blocked by other bikes and scooters and coolers and cars. It got harder and harder to get over to the bike, and eventually it just started sitting there. And oh, we'll get to it eventually. We'll get back into the habit. And we just kept paying that $40 a month. And so that's an example of, it's not a bad habit. It's a good habit to exercise, but if you're not going to use it, then you're just wasting that money. And think of all the other good things that you could be using that money for. Luckily, we booked a trip to Hawaii for this summer, and so we're all motivated and we're all using it again. So, but I wanted to throw that in there. It doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Just take stock of what you're spending your money on, and think about the economics of that and what you could be using that money for. And can I jump ahead really quick to the instructor's guide? We were
Yes.
talking about relationships and love, and there's a quote on page 4-130. That's where you'll find the resources for this lesson. And there's a quote at the bottom about a student who, um, this student necessarily didn't have a bad habit, but this student's parent had a smoking problem. And so used that as the example of the bad habit for their work in the course, went home and presented that to the mother. And this student, you know all the health concerns, things like that, weren't affecting the mom enough to quit the bad habit. But when she saw the economics behind it and what they could be using that money for instead, then that's what helped her. That's what helped her realize, okay, this is a problem and I gotta stop this. So all that from a relationship that the parent and the student had, and the student cared enough for them to present this assignment to them and show them the economics of that bad habit.
Yeah. So something that is recommended both in the online class agenda and in the instructor's guide is having the students get together in a group and brainstorm what what they could do with the amount of money that they're spending on these bad habits, right? And I would say that's something you could do with time as well. What could you do with the time that you're spending on this stuff? So something I want to do really quick, if you're listening, please comment, if you feel comfortable, comment below what your bad habits are. Chris and I have mentioned a couple of ours. Spencer says that his guilty pleasure is Chipotle burritos. Yes. And again, I have to drive like 30 minutes to get one, and it's a really good thing because otherwise that'd be really bad.
Yeah, there's nothing else worth getting on the menu besides the burritos, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. Brienne says that Maverick sodas are one of hers. I haven't actually. I'm guessing that's just like any other type of gas station soda. I'm not sure. But if there's something special about it, let me know, Brienne, because I've never had one. But yes, that's mine as well. Pretty much everything. My guilty pleasure actually is streaming subscriptions. Chris and I were talking before about how I use my Amazon subscription for photo storage and free shipping and all this other stuff, and it comes with a live stream subscription. So I don't actually need the like 8 other live stream subscriptions that I've got.
Yep.
But that's that's something I'm actually going to look at after this live stream, because that's something that I really, really like.
Yeah, I'll butt in really quick. My wife and I, when we look for a movie or a show that we want to watch and we see it's not on any of the streaming services that we already have, then yes, unfortunately, we will subscribe to one just to see that show or that movie.
Oh, it's
And
only
then our
$5. It's
problem
cheaper
is,
than in the theaters.
yeah, it's cheaper than going to the movies, but then we forget about it and we're still paying for it month after month. So yes, we are going to be revisiting our streaming services as well.
Bran says she does that too.
It's a big problem in America right now, probably in the whole world.
Yeah, well, they make a lot of money off of people doing that.
Yes.
They count on that. So Brienne says it is the same as most gas stations, but there's a loyalty card. So this is something that is a huge part of bad habits, right? Is they're actually causing you to create a habit by having you keep track of your habit.
Yep.
Which, if only exercise worked as well as subscription cards. or as loyalty cards, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So one other thing I really wanted to touch base on today, this is something that Chris and I talked about quite a bit during our preparation for this, is the story from Possibilities. So if you're not familiar with our English language anthology, you should be. It's amazing. But Chris and I both had some pretty serious reactions to this. The story for this is called "Over the Hill to the Poorhouse" by Will M. Carlton. And we both had very emotional responses to this because within the last 6 months, Chris and I actually both have had major losses in our households of matriarchs that we were both helping to care for. And this story or poem takes you through the eyes of this person who has worked their whole life and worked hard their whole life.
70
And
years.
yeah, and they're now they're going over the hill to the poorhouse because their kids have abandoned them because they're busy with their own things, and it's really it was really emotional for me.
Yeah, me
um
too.
and so we've been we've said at the beginning really to focus on love, and really that's something that we wanted to bring out of this too, is caring for those people was something that we both were really passionate about, and making sure that their efforts and everything that they had given us previously was given back to them when they needed it.
Yeah, I love the part in the poem where he talks about how this mother would do anything for her kids, anything. And as soon as she started having kids, that's where all of her financial resources went to, was taking care of these kids. And then so unfortunately, it's not always the same in reverse. Unfortunately, some kids don't return that and don't take care of their parents as they get older. So in my situation, yeah, I felt honored to be able to take care of my mom in her final days. I loved having her live with us, so it was the least I could do, after everything she had done for me. So again, just loving relationships. This activity, this poem, um, it's in the activity about economics of bad habits. There's questions asked about what can you do to avoid being in poverty later in life. But I like the angle also about just loving each other. If you are saving your money, the older you get, the more money you have saved. Think about what you can do with that money for your loved ones, and how great it feels to use the resources that you've saved your whole life and use that on other people who are in need, other people that you love, other causes that you love. So yeah, this poem really did a number on me. It brought up a lot of emotions.
Yeah, and my grandma that I was helping care for, she was almost 95 years old, and she worked until she was 79 and a half
Yeah.
in her last career. And it wasn't easy work either. She was a CNA, and she worked hard to make sure that she was set up financially, so that she didn't have to be a burden on anybody. And something that really hit me with this poem, though, is even with everything she had set up and working her whole life, um, we're fortunate that she was able to stay in her home until she passed, because it would have been a huge financial strain for her to have been able to afford to go anywhere else to get any sort of quality of care at all if she had to go into a facility. So even as determined as she was to make sure that she had what she needed for her whole life, which she did an amazing job, um, that if situations had been different, that wouldn't have been enough. It may not have been enough. And so many of my older friends are starting to hit that point where they're realizing that it's really, really expensive. And working your whole life and working as hard as you possibly can your whole life doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be set if you don't understand the principles that are being taught in this. So helping students refocus, and this isn't just about saving money. Like you said, Chris, it's about making sure that we have the money to be able to take care of ourselves and to take care of the people that we love. We're both fortunate to have been in a situation where we could help care for those people.
Yeah.
And so making sure that we are looking at where our money is being spent, right? And saving it so that we have the opportunity to be able to share with those who are in need, whether that's in our immediate family or whether that's worldwide. There's most people I know are making ends meet fairly well. But there's always something else we can do, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it's common. People are good at making ends meet and not having much in reserves, not much in savings. So, yeah, use the concepts from this lesson to teach your students that. And it all starts with getting rid of bad habits first, and then looking at other areas where you can put some money away, and as we've said, have that freedom later in life to be able to use it on the things that you love and the people that you love. So let's all love each other.
Yes. Thank you, Spencer, for your comment. Yeah, there's always something more we can do. And when we're not saying don't have a Chipotle burrito, Spencer. Like, it's, we're just saying don't go there for lunch every day. That might be excessive. Things like that, keeping aware of things. Vanessa commented and said that her father-in-law worked hard his whole life and was frugal. And that paid off for him, which is amazing. And that's something we all need to think about. So thank you so much, Vanessa, for sharing that.
Yes, thank you. That's a great example. The person he cared for the most, he was able to take care of. Love it.
And that's what it's all about, right? Is ultimately when we come down to everything, it's all about loving each other.
Yep. That's what's most important, for sure.
Speaking of which, we want to give you guys some love. What questions can we answer? Do you guys have questions about this activity? Where to find support for this activity? We talked about the instructor's guide and possibilities, things that you can use to enhance your course. Of course, there's always the teacher's lounge, and our this live stream is a really good resource. So share it with people.
And I don't know if we made it completely clear. The resources we spoke about at the beginning are all found in the newsletter. So check the newsletter for those links and those resources as well.
Mm-hmm. Newsletter. The links will be in the chat of all of these different streams on all our different platforms. Also, the online class agenda is a fabulous place to get resources anytime you need them.
Yeah, there are lots of things on there that we didn't even get to today. So definitely look at the online class agendas if you're not using those yet.
So while we're waiting for any questions that might come in, we do have many upcoming events. On Tuesday, March 8th, we have our best practice highlight webinar, which will be around the team of champions. So that's specifically talking about the medal program. If you don't know what I'm saying when I say that, we may just have to do a whole live stream on the medal program, because I can go on and on about that.
We could, yeah.
But talk to me if you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so we're talking about building a team of champions on Tuesday, March 8th at that's
3:30 Pacific.
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry, I got my time zones mixed up. And then March 10th, all day, we have the Get Focused, Stay Focused online conference. And how much was that again, Chris?
Last time I checked, it was free.
Oh, excellent. I can afford that.
Yeah, good way to save some money there.
And then the Tuesday following, on Tuesday the 15th, we have our Tips Tuesday, which we will talk about if it is worth staying in school and how to teach that activity.
Yeah, that's a big question these days. Do students stay in school, or do they go immediately into the workforce? So we will discuss that.
Yes. So don't miss all of these excellent opportunities to come hang out with us. And I have not seen any questions come in, so I'm going to put up our contact information. Oh, and we did have a comment from Spencer saying we have 13 sessions and 16 bonus recorded sessions at that conference. So, lots to listen to while you're on the treadmill.
Yep.
And on that note, we would like to thank everybody for coming and interacting with us today. It is so much more fun when we get to talk to you guys. And we will see you all next week.
Contact us at the information below, and we would love to talk to you.
Bye.